Have you ever wondered what it truly means to rise from nothing and change the world? Not just through money, fame, or power, but through your mind, your discipline, and your relentless hunger for answers? Let me tell you the story of a man who did just that. A man born into silence, raised in solitude, and forged by pain. A man the world would later call one of the greatest minds in history. But to him, he was just Isaac. Just Newton. A boy with questions, in a world full of noise and no answers. Isaac Newton was born too early, literally. He came into the world on a cold December night in 1642, premature and weak, so small that nobody expected him to survive the week. His mother said he could fit in a mug, his heartbeat was fragile, and his future looked dim. Yet somehow, that tiny heartbeat refused to give up. The world tried to end his story before it even began, but fate had other plans. When he was just 3, his life was shaken again. His father had already died before Isaac was born, and now his mother remarried and left him behind, to be raised by his grandparents. Imagine being that small, confused child, abandoned by the one person you trusted. The pain of rejection carved a hole in him. He grew up in silence, mostly alone. While other children played, Isaac stared at the stars. While others ran in fields, he built windmills and water clocks. His loneliness became his strength, his isolation, his workshop. He wasn't the best student. In fact, for a while he wasn't even noticed. He was average, maybe even below average. But something shifted inside him. Maybe it was pain, maybe it was pride, or maybe it was that one moment in school when a bully humiliated him. That day, something snapped. He made a vow, not just to get even, but to become better. Not just to win, but to master everything. And he did. Isaac buried himself in books, in experiments, in thoughts no one else dared to think. He would lie awake at night, scribbling ideas by candlelight, drawing diagrams, questioning reality. The universe wasn't just stars and sky to him, it was a puzzle, one he was born to solve, and then came the plague. In 1665, a deadly wave of bubonic plague swept across England. Cambridge University shut down. Newton, like thousands of others, was sent home. But while others saw a break, he saw an opportunity. While others waited for the storm to pass, he built the future. In the quiet countryside, locked away from the world, Isaac Newton had his most productive period ever. He was just 23 years old. There, under an apple tree, or so the legend goes, he began to ask the question that changed everything. Why does the apple fall downward? Why not sideways? Why not up? What force pulls it? What invisible hand guides everything in the universe? What others had ignored for centuries, Newton made his obsession. And from that obsession came gravity. But it wasn't just gravity. In those 2 years of isolation, he laid the foundation for calculus, optics, and the 3 laws of motion. He didn't just discover ideas, he redefined the language of nature. Imagine that, a young man locked away from the world during a pandemic, alone with his thoughts, creating the foundation of modern physics, with nothing but paper, ink, and a fire in his soul. He came back to Cambridge, not as a student, but as a force. He wasn't loud, he wasn't charismatic, but his ideas were thunderous. His work was genius, and soon the world noticed. But genius doesn't come without enemies. Many tried to tear him down. Some claimed his discoveries as their own. Others called him arrogant, difficult, impossible to work with, and maybe he was. Maybe Isaac Newton wasn't easy to like, but he wasn't born to be liked. He was born to see what others couldn't. He once said, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." A beautiful quote, humble on the surface. But Newton didn't always feel humble. He was human, flawed, proud, and sometimes vengeful. But what he truly meant was this: knowledge is not a finish line. It's a chain. Every discovery is built on another. Every truth comes from courage. The courage to ask, to question, to doubt even what the world says is certain. Newton published his masterpiece in 1687, Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica. The world would never be the same. With this one work, he explained the motion of planets, the tides of oceans, and the fall of a leaf. For the first time in history, humans had a framework to understand the cosmos, not through superstition, but through reason. He was knighted, respected, feared, celebrated. He became the president of the Royal Society, the guardian of scientific truth in Britain. But even in his glory, he stayed a man obsessed. He studied alchemy, searched for the philosopher's stone, dove into biblical codes, because his hunger for truth had no limits. He was a scientist, yes, but he was also a poet of logic, a dreamer of laws, a silent storm of thought. He died in 1727 at the age of 84. The weak boy who was never supposed to survive lived long enough to become immortal. But here's the truth most people forget. Newton wasn't born a genius. He became one, through pain, through silence, through relentless work. He was not gifted by fate. He built his mind like a blacksmith builds a sword, one blow at a time. And that's what makes his story so powerful. Because if Newton, the lonely boy with a broken family, with no wealth, no support, no fame, if he could rise from nothing and touch the stars, then so can you. Your pain can become your power. Your questions can become your compass. Your isolation can be your forge. The world will not always understand you. It might reject you, ignore you, doubt you. But if you hold on to your fire, if you stay curious, if you stay hungry, you can create something timeless. You don't need applause. You don't need permission. You need one thing: discipline. The courage to keep going when no one sees you. The discipline to learn when no one teaches you. The fire to keep burning even in the darkest winter. Remember Newton, who stared at a falling apple and saw the universe. You're not just here to survive. You're here to discover, to build, to create, to push boundaries. The apple fell for Newton, but it rises for you. So, rise. Because the world is not waiting for the next genius to be born. It's waiting for someone to wake up, to rise from pain, from doubt, from rejection. The world is waiting for you to realize that greatness isn't written in your blood. It's carved by your choices. Isaac Newton didn't have a blueprint. He wasn't handed success. He was handed silence, loneliness, and failure. But he turned silence into focus. He turned loneliness into learning, and he turned failure into fuel. He didn't let his story be defined by his circumstances. He rewrote it, one equation at a time. And that's the lesson we forget in a world that's moving too fast. We chase results, not roots. We want recognition without reflection. We want answers without obsession. But Newton's life screams a deeper truth. There are no shortcuts to legacy, no escalators to greatness, only stairs, and you must climb every one. He climbed those stairs alone. No cheering crowd, no instant gratification, just notebooks filled with questions, nights filled with doubt, and a soul filled with stubborn fire. The kind of fire that doesn't flicker with failure, but grows brighter in the dark. So if you're feeling left behind, if you're watching others run ahead while you're still stuck in your room, surrounded by books, dreams, or just the echo of your own thoughts, good. That's where legends are born, not in noise, but in silence. Not in victory, but in struggle. Not in the spotlight, but in shadows. Because the apple that falls doesn't just fall, it chooses who's watching. And the one who watches deeply enough, questions bravely enough, thinks long enough, that's the one who changes the world. You don't have to be loud, you don't have to be perfect, you just have to keep going. You might be the student who feels average, the entrepreneur who keeps failing, the dreamer who doesn't know where to begin. You might be exactly like Isaac Newton before the world ever knew his name. But that doesn't mean your story is small. Your thoughts matter. Your questions matter. Your efforts matter. Because right now, in this very moment, as you sit here listening, maybe you are the next one. The next mind to shape the future. The next soul to write a law that explains the unexplainable. The next heart to rise from heartbreak and give the world something it didn't even know it needed. You don't have to conquer the universe. You just have to see it differently. Start small, stay curious, refuse to quit. Because the greatest revolutions in human history didn't begin with armies or wealth. They began in silence, in isolation, in the mind of someone who believed deeply that knowledge was worth chasing no matter the cost. And that's what Newton did. He didn't chase fame, he chased truth. He chased it when no one believed in him. He chased it when life told him to quit. He chased it when the world looked away. And because he didn't stop, the world had to look back. It's easy to look at Isaac Newton now and see a statue, a name in textbooks, a legend. But behind that name was a human being, flawed, fearful, fragile, just like you, just like all of us. And that's what makes his story so beautiful. Because if someone like that, a fatherless boy with no money, no connections, and nothing but a head full of thoughts, could transform human understanding, then what's stopping you? Don't wait for the world to believe in you. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start now. Study, build, fail, rise again, think deeper, work harder, be obsessed, be unreasonable, be you. The world may not notice at first, but keep going anyway.